Erika Kirk sitting down with Fox News Sunday host Shannon Bream, where she opened up about her goals to honor Charlie's legacy through her newfound mission at Turning Point USA.
We're going to be back on campus. We're going to continue Prove Me Wrongs on the quad. We're not afraid. We're going to be doing campus events at night. We have all of our tour stops with TPUSA Faith, with our Make Heaven Crowded tour that's coming up. We have, all of our amazing chapters. The fact that we're having so many different governors partner with us for Club America is so humbling and powerful, but it's also showing the youth of America that your voice does matter.
Host of Woke of the Week podcast, Justine Brooke Murray, joins me now. Justine, thank you so much for getting up and talking to me about this today. When you watch that sit down with Shannon Bream, what stood out to you the most?
Erika Kirk stands as such a reminder that there is a difference between good and evil. Those things are not relative. And I grew up between two generations that were taught that there's no such thing as good, there's no such thing as bad. Hollywood taught us that the Wicked Witch of the West and Cruella de Vil, they were just misunderstood victims of their circumstances. And now you have the shooter of the healthcare CEO. Well, he was a hero, and so is the assassin of Charlie Kirk. And the left is so angry right now because exactly what Erika Kirk is talking about. She is still talking to college students. She is not wallowing, hiding in her home. And they're angry because there's a study that recently came out by Newsbusters, the Media Research Center. They showed that only 24% of registered voters will admit that Charlie Kirk was murdered by a leftist, and the left wants to keep our heads in the sand. That's why they want to shut Erika up.
Yeah, those percentage numbers, that's too low. That's way too low. When you think about TPUSA and what Charlie made it, what do you think it's going to become? Do you think it can be just as big as what Charlie made it with Erika at the helm?
We need to find male role models as well who can take not replace Charlie, but spread his message, and we need to appoint them before the left appoints them for us.
Yeah, and that brings me to the next topic. The Democrats, they're going to have to change their tune a little bit because they obviously lost the male voter in the last election. But this was interesting. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, she was sounding pretty confident that Democrats will be sweeping in the 2026 midterms. Listen.
So if the Democrats win the House back?
Yeah, no, when? When the Democrats win the House back, then we will. I'm busy and focused on winning the House for the Democrats, making Hakeem Jeffrey the Speaker of the House, and to take us to a better place.
Okay, so Justine, when it comes to the male voter, like I said before that, they lost the male vote. They were not resonating with them. And when you try and think of who in the Democratic Party really stands out and can be a role model for these young men, nobody really comes to mind. And I think a lot of them think, well, Gavin Newsom, but he's not doing a very good job with trying to resonate with men. So what do you think is going to happen? Do you think they're going to run this same play for the midterms and beyond? Or do you think they're going to change something up?
Well, they certainly can't use Nancy Pelosi as a spokesperson. They seem to be digging their own hole because they tried to make socialism and Marxism appeal to young women and minorities for so long by casting white men as the common enemy. And now they're realizing, oh, wait a minute, they need the common enemy to vote for them or else their party won't stay afloat. So they're going to try to rebrand themselves, but it's really hard because they've emasculated men for years, and men want to own a home and start a family, and now they can't do that because of the left.
But when you think about the Democrats and the type of people that they look up to, and she mentions Hakeem Jeffries, and I mentioned Gavin Newsom. Can you think of any Democratic young male that would be a good contender and somebody who would support the Democratic ideals? Because when you think about it, it's not exactly cut and dry. Like when you think about Charlie Kirk. Do they have a Charlie Kirk of the Democratic Party? Because I don't see it, but you might see something different in your age group.
They're trying to manufacture Mamdani as that.
Yeah.
And basically, they're treating him like the new Obama. He's promising all this free stuff. He's basically telling young men that they must rely on the welfare state. And then you have this group called F America. They're trying to be this counter to Turning Point USA. And of course, they're very crude because the left is very crude. Turning Point conservatives realize we don't have to curse and yell in order to get our point across. It's still so manufactured. I can't find anybody else. Maybe they can dig up a podcaster or two, but no one's listening to them.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who they do come up with. But some of the 2028 Democratic presidential contenders are actually launching policy initiatives aimed at men and boys. The National Democratic Party spent $20 million on Speaking with American Men initiative. And then Maryland Governor Wes Moore announced initiatives to hire more male teachers. And then California Governor Gavin Newsom signed executive orders to address male suicide, launched a California Men's Service Challenge. And then Virginia State Delegate Josh Thomas, he announced efforts to create a legislative advisory committee for men and boys. Do you think those are going to work? Is that what it's going to take to push them over the edge?
It seems like they're just throwing money at the problem, and now they want more DEI. They tried to have DEI in the workforce by shutting men out, and now they're saying, oh, we're actually going to hire male teachers. So it's kind of like, pick a lane here. I don't think it's going to work because they're not addressing the root problem. Marxism, socialism, the values they preach do not help men. They do not help anybody. And men are going to continue to be pushed away from that.
Yeah, I will say one thing. If they can get the messaging right on the male suicide, because it is such a problem for young men, even up into people, men in their early 40s and 50s. I think that could be a way in with the men. We'll see if they can take it the right way. But like we said, all we got to do is wait and see what they come up with. All right, Justine, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.